In a small neighborhood to the west of Washington Square, the streets appeared and split into narrow strips. These passageways form strange angles and turns. There, one street even crosses itself 2 or 3 times. Some artist was lucky enough to discover the extraordinary qualities of this street. Just imagine, a debt collector walks down this route and ends up meeting himself on the way back. So artists soon flock to the old, quirky Greenwich Village in search of north-facing windows, sharply peaked 18th century rooftops, and low rent. Sue and Johnsie's studio was in the attic of a 3-story brick building. Johnsie was a pet name for Joanna. One girl came from Maine, the other from California. They met over a table d'hôte at a local restaurant. They discovered they both loved art and decided to rent a studio together. This was in May, and by November, a cold, unseen visitor whom the doctors call pneumonia began wandering through the colony, touching people with icy fingers. On the east side, this iron-handed foe roamed boldly, striking down dozens of victims. But here, in the maze of narrow alleys, it could barely move. There was nothing noble about Mr. Pneumonia. For him, the petite girl from California was easy prey. She lay on an iron bed, staring out the window at the blank wall of the neighboring building. One morning, the doctor called Sue out into the hallway. "She has 1 chance in 10, he said, shaking down the mercury in his thermometer. "Her chance lies in whether she wants to live. When people start making arrangements with the undertaker, no medicine can help," the doctor said. Sue burst into tears, grabbed her drawing board, and whistling, went back to the room where Johnsie was lying. Johnsie, almost invisible under the blanket, was lying turned toward the window. Sue thought she had fallen asleep. Sue started drawing an illustration for a magazine story, a cowboy from Idaho in fancy pants and a monocle. She heard a whisper. Johnsie was counting out loud. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Sue looked anxiously out the window. There was only an empty yard, a blank wall, and an old ivy vine that had lost almost all its leaves. "What is it, darling?" Sue asked. 6, Johnsie whispered. The leaves were falling faster. 5 what, darling? Leaves. When the last one falls, I will die. I've known it for 3 days now. Sue tried to comfort her friend, insisting that it was nonsense. The doctor had said she had a 1 in 10 chance. "Try to get some sleep," Sue said. She decided to go get Behrman, so she could paint him as the old hermit prospector. Old Behrman was an artist who lived on the ground floor. He was already over 60, with a face like Moses. All his life he had dreamed of creating a masterpiece, but he had never even started one. In recent years, he painted signs and advertisements. He earned his bread by posing for the young artists in the colony, since they couldn't afford a professional model. He drank a lot and boasted that he was about to write a masterpiece, but it was just talk. Sue found Behrman in a dim little room downstairs, where there was an easel and an old canvas that had been waiting for 25 years. She told him about Johnsie's strange idea and her fear that her friend would slip away like a leaf. Behrman's eyes were red and noticeably watery. "Are there really still people foolish enough to die because of leaves falling from a damned ivy vine? How can you let her fill her head with such nonsense?" "Ah, poor little Miss Johnsie," he said angrily as he set about helping. "She's very sick and completely worn out," said Sue. "Fine, if you don't want to pose, you old chatterbox." "Who says I don't want to?" "Come on then," said Behrman. Sue and Behrman went upstairs. Johnsie was asleep. Sue pulled down the shade and showed him the ivy. Outside, a cold rain mixed with snow was falling. They exchanged a silent glance by the window. The next morning, Sue saw that Johnsie was lying there, staring intently at the green shade. "Lift it up, I want to see," Johnsie whispered. Sue obediently raised the shade. Outside, despite the storm, there was still one green leaf left. "That's the last one," Johnsy said. "Today it will fall, and I will die." "Oh, stop it. At least think about me," Sue said. "What will happen to me?" Johnsy was silent. A soul preparing for its journey becomes indifferent to everything. The day passed, but even at dusk they could see that solitary leaf. Night fell. Once again, the north wind rose, and rain poured down, drumming against the ledges. In the morning, Johnsy asked for the curtain to be raised. The ivy leaf was still there. Johnsy looked at that leaf for a long time, and then spoke to Sue, who was warming up some broth. "I've been a bad girl," Johnsy said. "It's a sin to want to die. Give me some broth and some milk with port wine. Or a mirror. Prop me up with some pillows. I want to sit up." An hour later, Johnsy said, "I hope to paint the Bay of Naples someday." During the day, the doctor came. Sue stepped out into the hallway with him. "The chances are even," he said. "With good care, you'll win." "I still have to check on another patient downstairs, Behrman. He's an old man. The illness is in a severe form. There is no hope. They'll take him to the hospital today." The next day, the doctor told Sue, "The danger has passed. You've won." And in the evening, Sue came up to Johnsy's bed, who was knitting a blue scarf. "I have something to tell you, my little white mouse," Sue said, hugging her friend. "Mr. Behrman died in the hospital today. He was ill for only 2 days. The janitor found him in his room, soaked and helpless from suffering. His shoes and clothes were wet, cold as ice. No one could figure out where he had been that night. Then they found a lantern, a ladder, some brushes, and a palette with green and yellow paint. And now look at the leaf. Weren't you surprised that it didn't tremble or fall? That is Behrman's masterpiece. He painted it that night when the last real leaf fell. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this summary, don't forget to write in the comments which book you'd like to see next. Your ideas are very important. See you in the next videos.